you can keep your content more fresh. So ad fatigue is a real problem where you're seeing the same ad 20 times. And like that definitely is a very ineffective way of spending ad dollars. Managing your brand, scaling your creative assets, getting good insights about the brand experience that you're generating. Those are the three pillars I think businesses need to think about as they're running their marketing.
Welcome to Leading to Profit. I'm your host, Kevin Bees, and I've dedicated my career to empowering business leaders like you with the leadership skills, performance psychology they need to build thriving businesses. Are you ready for immediately actionable strategies from world-class profit leaders? Let's dive in. This is Leading to Profit. Welcome to episode number 268 of Leading to Profit. Today we have Hikari Senju. He is a computer science graduate from Harvard University with a passion for technology and design. Now, he founded his first startup, Quick Help, an on-demand tutoring app, which he later sold to Yup.com and became their head of growth. Now, during his time at Yup.com, Senju observed inefficiencies in content spending and the potential of AI advertising, which inspired him to establish Omneky in 2018. Now, Senju's background in computer science, entrepreneurship, and his experience with AI technologies led him to create Omneky, an AI platform that generates, analyzes, and optimizes personalized ad creatives at scale. So I'm so excited to welcome you to the show today. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
It's so good to have you here. I was saying just before, there's quite a buzz around AI. We're seeing it come up more and more, and the technology is moving very rapidly. I wonder if you could tell us about your journey, and what you're doing there with Omneky.
Yeah. So I grew up in New York, Westchester. My grandfather worked at IBM. And so definitely very early kind of acclimation to technology. I competed in robotics competitions as a kid. And I studied computer science. I got into Harvard. I studied computer science at Harvard, focusing on machine learning. I was taking a lot of AI coursework at MIT. I had gone into MIT, course 6. And it was really actually taking these classes at MIT that I got really excited about generative AI. I saw some of these early demos of these text-to-image models that were can prompt to text and it would generate images. And this was like around 2015, 2014. So still very early. I'm not even sure if it was called like generative adversarial networks at that time yet. And basically kind of reverse engineering the computer vision neural networks to like spit out an image based on a text prompt. And that got me very excited because my dad is a painter. And so the idea of an AI generating art I found incredibly kind of compelling and something I'm very engaged and interested in. And I immediately saw the potential of AI generating art as well in terms of various industries and advertising in particular. I think advertising is the largest industry for applied, art. Speaking of like people like Andy Warhol, became, his artwork. And so that, 2015, 2016 got really hooked into generative AI, very passionate about generative AI. Around this time also, you have Hugging Face kind of get launched in various iterations and then ultimately becoming an open source platform that really starts gaining steam in 2017, 2018. You have GPT-1 and GPT-2 come out where they're open sourcing some of the early language models. The Attention is All You Need paper in 2017 came out, which was about the transformers and the revolutionary impacts about utilizing this attention mechanism to make neural networks more scalable with larger data sets. And so 2018 was really where I gained conviction that I felt like we were at quite a tipping point in terms of the advancement of this technology, and got me convinced enough to go and start my next company after having sold my previous company. Was running marketing at the acquirer. And that's really the inception of Omneky in 2018.
Wow. And tell us more about it, because I've been to your website. I've had a bit of a look around at what you do. So you have the ability to generate like thousands of personalized marketing assets like really quickly. Now, maybe you can probably explain that a little bit more to us, because I know for many of us, if we try to do things in ChatGPT or Midjourney, as soon as we're trying to put text in our images, it doesn't always work. It doesn't come out the way that we want. So tell us about how Omneky is different.
Sure. So businesses have this problem where they have thousands of different SKUs. They're targeting thousands of different dimensions of the content that they need the content for. I mean, I was talking with one of the probably the largest consumer advertiser in the world just last week, and he was saying that the vast majority of his time is spent on these banner ads that go into, say, like a local retail store, and all the permutations and variations of these like still images and still graphics. And so that work today is being done by people. Human designers are creating this content. They're using spreadsheets and they're using PowerPoints and they're using email and WhatsApp and these various kind of tools to create these various assets in a fairly inefficient and slow way. And so what our tool does is it kind of automates this, where you just input the SKUs, product photos, and it will create all the variations for you in all the various dimensions you need for the various platforms you're advertising on, whether that is digital or in some case, potentially, in print as well. And so that's one use case that our product solves very well, is the scaled asset generation based on product SKUs or based on some core concepts or designs or messaging you have in mind.
Yeah, amazing. And what are you finding is the impact for your customers?
Yeah, so you can read our case studies online on our website. I mean, our customers are generally seeing a 5x increase in return on ad spend. They're seeing 10x cost efficiencies and time savings associated with our product. When you have a human, doing all the work and you replace a lot of that work with an AI, the work can be done a lot more cheaply, a lot faster. And also, because it's being automated, it's being done more cheaply, you can create more content. And when you can create more content, generally, this means you can advertise new products that you hadn't advertised before. This means you can launch new audiences. This means you can create content that is better personalized for the audiences that you're currently targeting. You can keep your content more fresh. So ad fatigue is a real problem where you're seeing the same ad 20 times. And like that definitely is a very ineffective way of spending ad dollars. And so you keep the creative fresh. So people are constantly seeing new value props to the company, seeing the company new ways. And that builds more trust. So, these are the various ways in which our technology does increase the return on ad spend for our customers.
That sounds very, very important. Now, it would be easy to sit back and think, wow, this is great for the large companies, where they have like thousands of products. Is it relevant for small to medium-sized business owners? Is this within their grasp that they can use your tool?
Absolutely. One of the benefits of our tool is that it's fairly accessible pricing even for a small business. And if you're a small business agency, so if you're an agency that's managing a bunch of small businesses, in aggregate, they're managing tons of different SKUs and different audiences. And they're trying to kind of juggle this, and that process can be automated with our platform. But at the same time, even for a small business, oftentimes the CEO is the marketing department. Oftentimes, they don't have a marketing department. They don't have a fully, the resources are so constrained. And rightly so, the resource should be spent on building the best product. And so, for those small businesses, we can really be an augmentation to their team to build the content and generate the content and run these effective ads at a fraction of the cost that it would take a full-time employee to do this work.
Yeah. Okay. So that's great. And if they wanted to come and try out the product, where's the best place for them to come and look and play?
www.omneky.com. You can schedule for a demo. You can sign up for a free trial.
Okay. That's awesome. And when you hear things like 5x return, 10x return, that's always exciting to anyone if we can improve that. And I can certainly see how the issue with saturation of ads, so keeping it fresh, can really be an important thing to do. Now, as well as jumping in and trying out your tool, how else can businesses transition into the era of AI-powered brand engagement?
First of all, the AI has the ability. Businesses now have an opportunity to bring their brands to life. So just like today, you have these virtual chatbots with different personalities. I mean, your brand should ultimately be a virtualized personality that can engage with customers in a very intimate way. And so I think when it comes to that, this is really the work we're doing with some of the biggest companies is, number one, it kind of comes with three pillars. Number one is, how do you manage your assets properly? To train these models, especially as you're generating more assets, you got to keep track of those assets. You got to tag those assets. We have an asset management tool internally within our product that with folders that categorizes all these assets. The second question is, how do you scale these assets, to the point that I was describing the first use case, which is, you have SKUs and you need to kind of quickly scale those assets to various dimensions. And then the third is analytics and insights. And, the other core pillar of our product we haven't gone to yet is we get data from all the various ad networks. So we are integrated. We're an omni-channel advertising platform. So we integrate with all the various ad platforms. We get real-time performance data in terms of what types of creative is driving sales, what types of creative is not driving sales, and then we provide insights. We generate content against to drive better sales. And so it's managing your brand, scaling your creative assets, getting good insights about the brand experience that you're generating. Those are the three pillars I think businesses need to think about as they're running their marketing. And the way we describe ourselves is we say we're, and this is more along the lines of our vision, but we are a generative experience management tool. So today we live in the world of digital asset management. Brands and companies are managing digital assets. In the future, brands are going to be managing generative experiences. So everything is going to be generated, probably as real time as possible. And when it comes to these generative experiences, you need a platform to help manage those generative experiences to make sure that there's nothing that's happening on off brand, that you're not actually generating things that's driving lower engagement. And so a platform to help businesses manage their generative experiences, starting with their advertisements, is really how we think of ourselves and the technology that we're building.
Tell us more about that. As a brand managing generative experience, what does that actually mean? What are we going to see? What's going to be happening?
Right now what we're describing and discussing is generative ads, right? So the images and videos you're going to see are generated, AI generated, personalized for your interests, the platform that you're looking at the piece of content on, and really just utilize as much real-time data as possible. But it doesn't really just end there. Once you click on the ad, the landing page should be personalized based on everything the brand knows about you. And there's a lot of data in the advertising that can be used to power the landing page experience. Then when you get that follow-up email, that email should be personalized to you as well, based on everything that the brand knows about you. When you go to the sign-up page and when you go to the checkout page, every single element there should be personalized for you, given your preferences and your interests and your tastes. It's kind of like, when you go to like a really high-end retail mall or something, right? Or a retail, say, store, you have this personalized person, there's a person that greets you and kind of takes you through the experience, right? They're like, would you like this clothes? Would you like that clothes? These are what we suggest. These are some of the newest things. And you have this very, white glove treatment, in say like a fancy retail store. Consumers should have that kind of experience digitally. All consumers should have that experience digitally, based on any platform product you're using. That's what generative AI enables, is that generation of those personalized experiences. And so when you're generating all these experiences on the fly, well, then you definitely need a system to help manage those experiences that you're generating. And so that's really where we believe there's importance in data, there's importance in brand management, and there's definitely an importance in how you're generating this content.
Wow. And that becomes really fascinating. Yeah, I'm already thinking about that. So effectively, me as the advertiser in this, wanting to promote my product or service, you may see something very different to the person next to you and the person next to you, because I guess the data in some respect knows what's going to be more persuasive for you or what's going to better align with your needs.
Absolutely. If you think about it, right, and this is an example, we have space for 165 people, right? That's kind of the number, right? And those people can also be brands, right? So for example, one slot in that 165 could be Taylor Swift, right? It could be some celebrity. But also it could be Coca-Cola. It could be when you have an interaction with a friend, your interaction with your friend is personalized to you, right? Your friend doesn't act the same way necessarily to all their acquaintances, depending on how your friend understands you and the kind of customs you've developed and just your understanding of each other and kind of the level of trust. You communicate differently than you might communicate with somebody else. And so just like that, a brand should also aspire to have the intimacy that a friend has with you and should gauge and level and change their the way they're communicating with you, maybe the casualness of their communication or the words they use, or the way they say certain things, based on kind of almost like a developed secret language or shared language that you developed together. And I think that's really, when we think of like an agentic brand or an AI brand or an generative AI powered brand, that I think is the future where we're going, because that brand is going to be way more effective at selling you products than like unchanging brand.
Want to know exactly where your business is leaking profit? Take my free profit scorecard. It's a quick and simple tool that will help you identify hidden gaps and opportunities to maximize your bottom line in just a few minutes. Visit www.profit.gifts and get your personalized results today. Now, back to the show. So how close is this? I appreciate we've got a lot of the technology exists that maybe to help us do this right now. So is this available for most of us now, or is this something that we're going to see in 3-5 years?
Well, definitely parts of it is available today, and you can use our tool to generate personalized, or to the best ability that we can, personalized advertising content, images, videos based on data, based on an agent that goes and researches the web and gets information and brings it back to you and creates new ideas based on understanding the brand, based on understanding of consumer preferences and the data we've aggregated. So there's a level of content generation that's personalized that's able to be done today. But you see the for example, you recently had, I think last week, Microsoft announced breakthrough in quantum computing and with their Mirana chip, and they're like with these like the ability for them to kind of align these qubits in a certain way, in a stable way, to do these incredibly complex calculations that were unimaginable and break codes, things like this. And so you have massive breakthroughs being done in computation at a physics level, as well as all this GPU that's being brought online. I mean, look at NVIDIA's sales numbers. People are buying so many GPUs, and so like we're wowed by chat GPTs and the Groks and the Geminis and the Claudes today, but now imagine when all those models now have 10 times, 100 times more compute, how powerful those tools will be. So we're already seeing kind of a natural acceleration in terms of just natural procurement of GPUs and all that intelligence being brought online. On top of that, you're seeing massive breakthroughs in terms of physics with qubits and quantum computing. And so, yes, I think this future is probably sooner than people, definitely sooner than people think.
Yeah. And a lot of this really depends on the data that we have access to then. So I guess right now we're interacting with things like ChatGPT, and I even saw someone yesterday saying, "Hey, ChatGPT is my therapist." So they're sharing some deep and personal stuff. So they're collecting a vast amount of data. I presume at some point then that data would be very valuable for them, because when you're talking about being able to specifically target certain things, they would be able to leverage that very, probably better than most.
Are you making the argument that ChatGPT will be able to do this better than most, or are you saying
Well, I'm guessing, and maybe not even ChatGPT, but maybe the platforms that are collecting that data, because there aren't too many platforms where you would give that level of data, right? If it's being your therapist, it definitely has some fascinating insights on you that would be very helpful to advertisers and marketers.
It's a great question. I mean, but I think it's an open playing field, because here's the thing: is that you have DeepSeek come out of nowhere and break these like scores on these tests, and then you have Grok 3 also. Grok 3 was not on the map, and now suddenly XAI is on the map as the top performing model, and so I think it's still open game.
Yeah, okay, still an open game. And so tell us a little bit more about then the importance of data-driven creativity in the modern marketing.
Marketing is always been data driven for some time. So you have kind of in the Edward Bernays has this famous book called Propaganda, like almost a century ago, where he talks about the science of advertising and marketing, and really kind of turns into science. And then you have like in the mid 1950s with the kind of the mass consumer market, you have mass media, you have kind of this the rise of being data driven in terms of making product decisions. You have that kind of like cookie cutter business person with like their surveys, right? And the 1950s, so you have again the scientific method being applied to capital enterprise and being data driven. You have these catalogs, for example, that we send to people's homes, and you kind of measure the response rate of certain catalogs or mails based on that. So marketing has been as data driven as the technology allowed it to. I think what's different now is just the order of magnitude more data that marketers have access to, as well as the capabilities that this technology has in terms of actioning on that data.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like going to be very, very important as we move forwards to be more connected to the data and and leverage that. So Is there anything else that would be really relevant for us to understand about, generative AI and how things are changing in, the world of marketing and advertising?
The way we position ourselves is that we're a partner for you in terms of making sense of all this change. So we have a professional services part of the business where there's new tools being announced every week that create content, research, things like this. And yet it hasn't really been built into a comprehensive end-to-end workflow for advertisers and for marketers at work in agencies and in-house agencies, or when it comes to the managing of assets or violation of copyright or things like this as well. The actual editing of the assets. I mean, AI is not perfect today when it comes to generating content. You have a level of editing that's required when it comes to launching that piece of content. And in fact, a level of human editing actually makes that piece of content more copyright protected. If there's a human hand involved in the content creation process, it is more copyright protected than if you just have a prompt that generates an image that you're running as an ad. That was actually a ruling that came out in the US a couple of weeks ago. And so, we're here, we've built this tool for marketers. That's not just a wrapper around AI, but an end-to-end workflow, focusing on some of the other components that are not necessarily AI, but also utilizes AI. So quickly creating variations that are brand line based on your product SKUs, turning those into video assets, analyze performance based on the metrics marketers care about, managing your brand assets, being able to launch the product, launch the campaigns, measure the performance of those campaigns, all those things. Like an LLM product, there are elements of LLMs incorporated into it and diffusion models incorporated into the workflow, but the workflow is what we've built. And so that's actually also what's enabled us to kind of ride this Gen AI wave. So we can actually swap out components of the workflow with AI, with the latest state-of-the-art models as these models have advanced. And so we can really deliver for the customer the state-of-the-art experience when it comes to how AI impacts advertising.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. And I'm so keen to go and have a play with omneky.com. And if you're listening, I recommend that you go and try it yourself as well. Now, Hikari, I'd love to switch it up a little bit because we've heard a lot of really fascinating things about AI and marketing and how the world is changing and how things are already changed right now. Given that you had success in building up a business and selling it, and now, of course, you're scaling up Omneky as well. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about your experience and what was that like to take something from startup to a position where you could, sell it? Do you have any leadership tips that you learned along the way?
Well, I think, this is more kind of being a business owner, being an entrepreneur. You want to be able to control your destiny, which means you want to have money. You want to make money, or you want to be able to make money in some way again, which is great. And that there's a strategy involved there in terms of you're going to get all these users and then you're going to monetize the users on future date. And so you're financing the company that way, or you're bootstrapping the company. There's great companies that have been bootstrapped, even from Australia as well. Atlassian is a great example. Profitable from very early on, control their fate, and just staying in the game, I think, is just so important. If you control your destiny in your hands, if you control ultimately the resources, and you can make money and sell a service or a product that delivers value for customers, there's more optionality. And we live in a world of abundance where there's more abundance every single day. Really, there's the innovation that's happening here is really insane. There's never been really anything like this. And so there's going to be so many opportunities that as long as you stay in the game, care about your business and care about your customers, care about your employees, and focus on innovating on their behalf, there will continue to be opportunities every day as there's breakthroughs happening all the time. So that would really be my advice.
Very powerful message there. Now, in this journey of building these businesses and even getting to a level of success where you sold it, what are some of the challenges that you faced along the way? What are maybe some obstacles that you've had to overcome?
I think the reward for doing good work is more work, and harder. And the reward for solving an easy problem is to be given a harder problem to go solve. I think that's kind of how capitalism works: is it allocates resources to the most productive areas and the most productive problem solvers ultimately. And so, the most important thing is to have a growth mindset, not to be too stubborn in terms of your strategy, and be always learning about new things, listening to your team, listening to customers, listening to what's out there, on social media, and just I think it really helps be in Silicon Valley where there's a lot of events happening all the time where there's kind of this self-selecting group of technology, and so I think it helps be plugged into Silicon Valley's network. And it helps to be geographically located here, but nowadays Silicon Valley is also a virtual space, and so you can participate not necessarily by being located in Silicon Valley itself physically.
I love it. However many times you fall down, keep getting up and have that growth mindset, always be learning, listen to the team, listen to the customers. And I think you made the important point there about having a powerful network around you. For you, it's in Silicon Valley, and maybe for other people listening that you may not be able to get a Silicon Valley environment around you, but make sure you have people who are going to help drive and grow your thinking in that space. So Hikari, you've been so great today. I've got one final question for you. We say that the quality of the questions we ask ourselves can impact the quality of the life that we lead. That being true, what's one question you've asked that's had the biggest positive impact on your life?
What is the question that I've asked myself that has a positive impact on my life? I think it's ultimately it's like if I could be doing anything else, would I be doing this? I think the answer almost always is yes. I think one does think in terms of you create a vision for yourself, you create a vision for the company, you also create a vision for yourself, and then you kind of execute against that vision and maybe making progress. That is rewarding, and so I wouldn't necessarily say you want to create plans. They don't always happen, but you should make a 5-year plan. You should be questioning your 5-year plan. They should always be holding yourself accountable to that 5-year plan, and that 10-year plan, and that career life plan, and seeing how you're progressing against that plan. And if you're not, then asking yourself why. And if you are, then that's great. And then maybe then set your plans more ambitiously next time. And so, but I think being setting as ambitious a vision for yourself and your company as possible, but then I think making sure that asking yourself that if you are kind of going according to plan, if this is the best. Also circumstances change. In AI particularly, lots of new opportunities arise. And so maybe, you need to pivot into a larger opportunity now because the market's big enough. And so there's now a bigger opportunity. And so you have to be open to that as well. And so kind of always asking, what is the bad enough for yourself? What is bad enough for the company? And then also what is the bad enough for, your people who've invested in you, who believe in you, the team, the investors, the customers, you owe it to them as well. You have a responsibility to them. And so making sure you're asking those questions and then executing as rigorously as possible against being really as steely-eyed and clear-eyed as possible in terms of the realities of the situation.
Awesome. And by BATNA, you mean like the best alternative to not getting the outcome or to no agreement?
Yeah. I think that it's like a negotiation term. I think it's the best alternative to exactly, not getting an agreement or something like this. And it's like
wonderful.
Yeah, and so it's ultimately a question of. I mean, I think there's an element where people kind of fixate on this a little too much, like the opportunity cost. Like, what is the opportunity cost of any given situation? And you want to really be maximizing the opportunity that you're kind of pursuing, and so you're making sure that you're always going after the largest opportunity you can. And you have the right team, the right people, and the right supporters supporting you against that opportunity. I think is super key, and making sure that you have to constantly be asking yourself, is this the largest opportunity we could be pursuing? Is this the largest opportunity that are we being ambitious enough? And also, are we executing against this properly? Because you also need to, the execution and the demand has to also meet, what you're kind of building on. And so, making sure those are also working in step.
I love that. As you're talking about that, you remind me of a Jim Carrey clip I saw, and he was talking about his dad, who didn't succeed, doing something he didn't love. And I think he says a quote, something like, "You can fail at what you don't love, so you may as well actually go for what you do want." And your point you're making here is this the largest opportunity we could be pursuing? Are we being ambitious enough? And if the answer to that is no, well, maybe we need to take a look at that and set some new 5-year plan, goal, and go and chase after something that's really going to light you up and help you really feel amazing when you accomplish that, or make a difference to the world in that way. And of course, it sounds like with Omneky, you have just the opportunity. You're pursuing something here that is already going to be adding value to to the world. If we can actually be producing, more customized, ads in a shorter period of time as the industry evolves and changes. I know you're positioned very well to help businesses and organizations do that, on an even bigger scale. So
I want to just say like two things. Number one, I think is, I think it actually benefits to be ambitious, because the more ambitious you are, the more compelling of a vision you can paint, the more resources, and the more people who can believe in that. Because the more ambitious the vision, the more people want to believe in that vision, especially if it's a positive vision. The more resources that will follow you, more people will also want to work on such a mission, and that actually increases your likelihood of success. There's an element of something almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, where the more ambitious you are, the more likely it is that you're going to be successful. Obviously, you have to execute. Obviously, you have to hire the right people. Obviously, you have to get the right investors and build the right governance and have the right accountability. But generally, the more ambitious you are, I think, the more resources, the better people, sign up to be on that journey with you. And so, yeah, I think it helps to be ambitious.
I love that. It's very counterintuitive. It can be, seem a good thing to play it safe, but you're actually saying, hey, the more ambition you have, the more chance you have of success.
I do think that like not taking risk is also a risk, right? And like in a world that's changing so fast, you have to be out there taking risks, because nothing is guaranteed. The safe government jobs even that you thought existed forever, Elon's going in there with Doge, and so there's like nothing. Well, the only thing that's certain is disruption, and more disruption really due to this kind of hyperbolic nature in which this technology is accelerating. And so, you have to take risks, and you have to take intelligent risks. And you have to be, and in those instances, it helps be ambitious.
All right, I love that. It's such a very powerful way to punctuate the end of this episode. So not taking a risk is a risk. So increase your level of ambition and increase your chances of success. Wherever you're listening, make sure you click into the show notes and go and check out omneky.com. So Hikari, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate everything.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you for tuning in to Leading to Profit. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review. It helps us to reach more leaders like you who are committed to maximizing their positive impact and profitability. Until next time, this is Kevin Lees, and remember, you stop leaking profit when you're engaged in leading to profit.